Hi, it's James from Electric Blue Contractors, your local electrician in Wakefield. So today I'm going to do a little video to show you about the dangers of using Rogue Electricians to complete electrical work within your home. Now, unfortunately, the house that we're in has been rewired by a builder masquerading as an electrician, and there are quite a number of very serious electrical faults within this property. Now, it's not always this easy to be able to spot the dangers of using a rogue electrician. However, simply for the purposes of the video, I thought I'd take you around the house and show you some of the major and serious faults which we've found when we've inspected the property. I will start down here with this, which appears to be a newly rewired socket. However, when the floorboards were pulled up, what's happened is the builder has simply junction boxed the wires for the new socket onto the old wiring, enabling it to look the new colour cores within the socket. However, underneath, this is still the older wiring and thus not rewired to modern standards. So one of the next dangerous things that we found within this property was a number of older light fittings which have been removed. The new light fittings have been installed and are working. However, the old light fitting is still live. And this is live even when the new lights have been switched off, which proves that somewhere up in the loft there's a junction box or a connection somewhere to the circuit downstairs in the consumer unit where the old wiring has been left connected. This obviously presents a very dangerous situation, as you know, unless tested you wouldn't know that that was live and could potentially touch a live wire. Yet another dangerous situation we found. We took the front cover off this socket in order to inspect it and found that neither of the earths from the cables that have been installed were actually connected to the socket itself. Obviously this leaves the socket front with no earth connection. Again, a very dangerous situation. It's quite possible that if we pull the floorboards up here we may find a similar situation to with the older socket, whereby the older cables have simply been extended with the newer colour wiring in order to give the impression that a rewire has taken place when in fact it hasn't. So on the landing here you can see where all the cables which come to the upstairs of the property join together, and they've been all boxed in with this expanding foam here. Now this expanding foam, when it's used like this around the cables, can cause damage to the PVC, the sheave of the cable. As when we go downstairs in just a second, you'll see quite a lot more of expanding foam which has been used over these cables, again causing damage to them in the long term of the outside sheathing of the cable. So the builder who abandoned this project has left this house in this state for the homeowner, and this is when they've asked us to come and have a look at it. One of the things that really surprised us, which is extremely dangerous, was this bare live cable. Now we have taped over the end of it simply to show you on this video. However, as you can see, when we use a vault pen, the cable is still live, and it's quite a miracle that the homeowner didn't manage to shock themselves on this cable, as it was simply left laying on the floor in that manner when we found it. One of the other things that we noticed in this bedroom underneath the floor is this, which is what effectively is called a chock block, connector block, which has been wrapped up in tape. Now I can only assume this is where, for whatever reason, the wire was too short and the builder had decided to extend it. Again, this was live when we found this, and it was left under the floor in such a manner. Again, this is not something that is safe and is definitely the work of a rogue electrician or somebody who is not qualified. A qualified electrician would not extend a cable in this manner. So when we inspected the light on the landing, what we came across was that obviously the old wiring has been cut off in order to facilitate the installation of the new light fitting, which is simply just a pendant. However, if you look a little bit closer, you will see that the old wiring is still existing within the fitting, and it is actually live when tested. As you see, the volt pen glows up red. The old wiring has been left live within the fitting, the permanent live. This should have been resolved, as again, this is a serious shock risk and could give someone a nasty shock if they weren't expecting it. So the builder had told the homeowner that the house had been completely rewired. However, as you can see from this switch that's hanging off the wall here, this is using the older wiring colours of red and black rather than the new blue and brown. Hence the wiring to this switch, and quite possibly the light for this room as well, has not been altered in any way whatsoever, again thus not rewired. Again, this is the work of a rogue electrician or someone who is not qualified. There's no reason why if you were to do a complete rewire you wouldn't rewire every single piece of wiring within the home. So following on from where we found the cables under the landing floorboards and the massive expanding foam that's been used up here, this brings us to this beautiful piece of work here in the corner, where I'm not entirely sure what's happened. It seems that the builder has struggled somewhat in order to chase the cables and has simply just built a massive expanding foam around these cables to hold them in place. And if you will look along the wall, not only does the expanding foam, which could quite easily be removed, however the cables themselves stick out further than the plaster of the wall, the finished plaster of the rest of the wall. This is going to need completely removing and starting again. Again, the amount of expanding foam that has been used in this region is going to seriously damage over time the PVC outer sheathing of the cable, and this should really be a square corner to match up with the rest of the property, which obviously that is simply impossible based on what the builder has done there. So as you can see, the electrics within the kitchen, it appears that rather than lowering the older hired position of back boxes as they were back in the olden days to a more lower position, which makes them much easier to use, they've simply been left in the same position. I can only imagine that the cooker switch here is an afterthought, as that has been placed in a surface mount box rather than chased into the wall like the rest of the sockets and switches. This doesn't seem very secure whatsoever. As you can see, I'm simply twisting that with my fingers, and also the hob itself simply lifts out, despite again the homeowner being told that the work was complete. So this part of the rewire is obviously done to a very poor standard. Although the hob itself is not part of the rewire, the electrical installation has been done to a very, very poor standard. So for reasons that I don't fully understand, and we're going to look a bit further into this, however, it appears that rather than using regular electrical screws to screw this face plate onto the back box, the builder has used Torx concrete style screws to hold it on. Again, this is not really a normal practice and is something that I would expect from a more rogue electrician or someone who is unqualified or unexperienced at electrical work in order to do something like this. So the rogue electrician who has completed this rewire has done a number of things which are quite seriously unprofessional within the cupboard with the consumer unit installation. I mean, firstly, as you can see, the consumer unit has been squeezed into the space between the meter and the wall on its side. So although that in itself isn't the end of the world, the way that it has been installed is particularly poor. Firstly, here we have a bonding to what appears to be a gas pipe, which is the gas pipe to nowhere. It just leads into a pipe to the wall and not the pipes to the meter. This is something that's been completed very recently, and I can appreciate that, as you can see here, the gas piping has been changed recently, although that was apparently done before the electrical installation, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. The way that the cables and the meter tails have been brought into the consumer unit, there is no glanding or grommet strip of any type, so that this leaves both large holes which you could potentially get your fingers through, and in the case of at the top here, there is sharp edges which the cable is rubbing against. Again, this is quite dangerous, because if these cables, which as you can see are not secured very well, rub against the sharp metal edge of the consumer unit, this could cause a short. If we open up the front cover of the consumer unit, we can see that while a blanking piece is being used at the top, the circuit breakers do not line up properly. Thus, there are large gaps which you can get your fingers inside and touch the dangerously live parts inside. And then if we just go down here to the bottom of the consumer unit, you can see where more wires have been brought in at the bottom, but also there's no gland on this armoured cable here. Now this is particularly poor. Again, this sharp metal edge has the inner cores of the cable rubbing against it, and this could cause a short very easily, because this armoured cable goes outside through the wall to the outside and is very unsecurely clipped. So as you can see, to say that this property is supposed to have been rewired, and was told by the homeowner, was told by the builder that it required a rewire, they basically are that a Rogue Electrician has been in and has completed a number on the property, unfortunately. It is likely upon inspection that most, if not all of this, will require removal and replacement with new and correct fittings. So as you see, that completes our tour of this property. Unfortunately, again, like I said, a lot of the electrical work which has been completed in this property is simply going to require ripping out and starting again. And this is one of the reasons why you shouldn't use a Rogue Electrician, because you simply cannot trust the standard of their work. Unfortunately, not all homes and not all Rogue Electricians are this obvious. I mean, we came in here and saw some of these dangerous points almost immediately. Some dangers that Rogue Electricians complete can be under floorboards and hidden away for months and never be found, or up in the loft above the ceiling, just waiting to cause a fire or a short or some other problem. So this is why you should always ensure that your electrician is both registered on the Electrical Competent Person website with a certification body, carries the correct amount of public liability insurance, such that if they complete work in this manner, you are covered. And also, I would advise that you check their online reviews and their other online presence and see if they've got other testimonials from happy customers who they have done work for in the past. So if you live in the Wakefield area and you want to hire someone who you know isn't a Rogue Electrician, give James from Electric Blue Contractors a call today.